Two of America's adversaries met in Moscow today. Russian President Vladimir Putin is hosting Chinese President Xi Jinping. They called each other dear friends. China has notably sought to be a mediator in the war in Ukraine, proposing a peace plan without the U.S. And this meeting comes after China brokered a diplomatic deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Putin for war crimes. Joining me now is Harley Lippman. He sits on the board of Columbia University's Graduate School of International and Public Affairs. He's also an executive committee member on the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. Hi, Harley. Good to have you. How and why is this meeting happening without the U.S. being involved, and what are the possible implications?
Well, this is very serious for the United States, and it's really not a good thing. Now, if you're referring to the meeting that China hosted between Saudi Arabia and Iran, yeah, this is really bad for us because now China pulled off a great event for them. They brought two nations who are enemies together, and China is showing the Middle East that we could act as a peacemaker. And it pushes the United States aside. And they're saying the same thing to the Europeans. That's what the Chinese are saying. They're saying, hey, we could be a peacemaker, move away from the United States and get closer to us. So China is embarking on a very aggressive policy of dominating the world as much as they can economically and pushing the United States away so that we are no longer a competitor to China and we're no longer a superpower.
This visit that starts today shows China's growing support for Russia. Now, John Kirby, we saw him speak at the White House today. He was asked, why did Biden allow our adversaries to team up against the U.S.? Kirby said Biden is advancing our policies and national security interests around the world. What does all of this mean for the U.S., and how might this affect world order?
We need China not to arm Russia. Now, we have leverage over China. Most of their trade is with the United States, Western European countries, and Japan. So I think we should all get together and say to China, you can't have it both ways. If you want to trade with most of the world, then you cannot arm Russia. And that is the message that we need to convey to China in no uncertain terms, because the one thing that could help Russia win this war is if China sells them weapons, buys oil from them cheaply, and basically supports Russia. So this is a serious problem that we have. We need to make sure that in no way we allow China to be supportive of Russia.
Yeah, no doubt. We're really concerned that China will provide Russia with these lethal weapons to help in its war against Ukraine. Well, we also heard Kirby say today that there is no indication that China is moving in that direction. Who's really benefiting from this meeting today?
Well, our enemies are benefiting from this meeting. Russia, China, Iran, these are our enemies. And we have to be very clear as to who our friends are and support our friends, like Saudi Arabia, and who our enemies are. For example, the Biden administration sent a senior official to Israel and Jordan to talk about Iran, but not Saudi Arabia. Why do they need to send someone to Jordan? Jordan is not really threatened by Iran, but Saudi Arabia very much is. And it just speaks to our abandonment, I think, of our alliance with Saudi Arabia. And our enemies are taking advantage of us. So it is really a serious challenge to the United States, to our ability to function in this world as a leading nation. And I say, you know, America first at home and America first overseas. We have to be the one to lead. Otherwise, our enemies will take our place.
Yeah, it seems to be changing. This meeting also comes weeks after the Chinese spy balloon happened, days after that Russian fighter jet crashed into an American drone over the Black Sea. Is this meeting a test?
I think so. They are testing our resolve. They still see Biden as somewhat weak, even though Biden has stepped up with Ukraine. The feeling is he's still not doing enough to make sure that Ukraine could have victory, not just be not defeated by Russia. And I think the way we'll have peace in that region is if Ukraine has victory. So this is a test. And if I were an evil man and I were advising China, and I'm not an evil man and I'm not advising China, I'd say put the metal to the pedal because the United States is weak now. We haven't been really prepared for this. While China has been preparing for years to try to take over dominance of the world, Russia has been their ally in this. We have largely been asleep at the wheel. We have not been fully aware of and taking actions that speak to protecting the United States and our interests around the world. And this is the biggest challenge we've ever had since the end of World War II.
Right.
So we have to be vigilant and stand up against our enemies.
Yeah, no doubt China definitely wants to be the world power and has for a very long time now. It also is eyeing Taiwan next. So there is a lot to keep our eyes on, a lot to look forward to or be worried about. Harley Lippman, last words.
Well, I just think that it's not too late. So we have to increase our military, increase weapon sales to our friends and allies around the world. We have to send clear red lines to China and Russia that this is unacceptable and we will not accept your aggression, whether it's against Taiwan or other nations of Europe. And the United States has to just reassert its leadership that it's had after World War II. And while we're not perfect, we are the one country that can keep peace in the world.
Yeah, and Biden definitely needs to address this with Xi. We'll see if that will come sooner rather than later. All right, thank you so much for your time today, Harley Lippman. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OANN Live. OANN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OANN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OANN Live and stay informed.